How's it going?
Yo.
So, this Team Bad Decisions back with another hobby hangout. And we're just kind of gonna hang out, talk about some like how we got into the hobby a little bit tonight, and then we have Eric with us, who's gonna go over. He does a lot of airbrushing. He does commission work, so he's just gonna kind of chat about some of that. And then we got Dan, who's with us, and he owns a 3D printing company, and he's going to kind of chat about some of the things that he does with that. So with that, Eric, we'll start with you. Kind of what are you working on tonight? What do you love about this hobby?
So, what kind of drew me into the hobby was actually one of my good friends was playing, and he invited me over. So, got into it, rolled some dice, figured out how to play, had a good time, and started working on stuff then. That was about 22 years ago now. Currently, I'm working on a couple different projects. I have a commission Imperial Knight Army that I'm working on. We're still working on some of the stuff from Adepticon from last year that we sadly weren't able to play with. So we're pushing it back. Hopefully it'll be done for next year. Working on some stuff for the upcoming Michigan GT. They just asked me to paint up a bunch of terrain for them. So I'm going to start with a Zona Mortalis board. So
I didn't get a chance to see the dates on that. When does that Michigan GT happen?
They haven't released it yet.
Okay.
So it's my guess to be the first or second week of October.
Now, have you been with it since it started? Like I know you were at the first one. I was at the first one.
Yeah, I've played in almost all of them. There was 2 years, 1 year that I didn't play at all, and 1 year that I played as a ringer. And I ringed both AOS and 40k that year. So I was flip-flopping back and forth between...
So how long has that been going on?
I believe it's 7 years now. So this will be the 7th year. Might actually be the 8th. I'd have to be 100% sure, but I'm pretty sure it's only 7.
And that's a pretty big tournament, right? Like there's a couple hundred that show up for the singles event, and there's multiple other smaller events that kind of orbit around that.
Yeah, there's definitely lots of events that happen on there. They keep expanding it. They tried doing X-Wing and things like that last year. The sales for it just didn't come through. But the main one they have is the 40k championship. I think they had 128 people last year sign up for that. It's the largest event in Michigan. The doubles event, the all aspect doubles, has been running for I think 4 years now, or this will be the 4th year, and that's always had a really good turnout as well. And you're between usually 20 to 50 teams, depending on. There's a lot of circumstances that coordinate with that as far as dates and all that. So it normally shows up pretty well. Big turnout, a lot of cool events.
I like that one a lot. Brandon and I think we won the first one, and
yeah, I think you guys won the second, and I think the first one you guys had an option of best painted or overall. And I think you guys went with best painted, just because that's what we're known for. You know, we're known for not trying to smash people and just
right.
Well, make cool fun events, and the more hobby aspect.
Yeah, that's what we came with, was more hobby. I don't think we won any of our games by max points.
No, I could definitely vouch for that.
Well, I think even the second year when we won best overall, we lost the first game.
Yeah, you won one, lost one, and drew one.
That's right.
Still won overall. Yeah. So it's mainly yeah, the aspect tournament is more based off of soft scores and hobby and making friends instead of frenemies.
Yeah, exactly. So you said 22 years now?
22 years of playing.
So what have you seen change on how to get into the hobby? Like what's difference, and like how should somebody start if they haven't yet?
So there's a lot of different ways, I mean, in my opinion, that people get started. It's going into your local game store and looking for maybe even magic cards or whatever and seeing these cool little figures on the wall going, what's that? Um, I think a lot of times that if you're looking to get into it, the main thing is ask questions. I mean, almost everybody's going to answer them. Most of us are pretty easygoing people, and we're all here to build the community more than tank the community. So I don't think I've had anybody who's not answered a question if there's a question.
I have to agree about the community part. I was so recently somebody tried to get me into Magic again, and the tournaments in the community is way different. Like when you play Warhammer, there's a lot of conversation back and forth, like handshaking, like all of that kind of like general sportsmanship. Not for every single game. That's not true, but for I'd say 90 to 95% of them, you have fun with the person as well as the game. And with Magic, man, I tell you, there's no mercy. They don't have a problem just dusting you.
It's very cutthroat. They don't want to talk. They're there to do one job, and that's to see that top prize.
The first game I played in the tournament, I went to shake somebody's hand, and they looked at me like I was trying to attack them.
Yeah. Maybe they had pre-notions of the coronavirus.
Now,
right.
They brought up a good point in the chat. Shops Closed did. Do you think that's because in Magic you see the guy for 10 minutes versus in 40k? If you're a douche, you have to like see the guy for 4 hours potentially while you're playing a game with him.
Deal with it the whole freaking time, yeah.
Right.
I think that. Yeah, I would definitely agree that that's some of it, but there are some players out there that for the full 4 hours they're just turds.
Oh, absolutely.
And they're the people that are just make you struggle when you really are trying to just enjoy, and you're playing with army dolls. I mean, so that's my main thing.
I think the part of it, the other part of it is like in one shop. So in this area, we have like 3 shops that play Magic tournaments and stuff. So in one shop, there's as many people playing in that one tournament on a random Friday as there is of the whole Warhammer community here in our area.
Very much so.
So you don't want to, cut ties with people because, there's not many, not as many. Now, the big tournaments are fun. Like that's where we've made a lot of our friends for us. But locally, there's not near as many as there are Magic card players.
No, yeah, it's definitely more tight-knit communities. And I think that 40K people travel, but it's normally they travel in groups where Magic players will travel by themselves. And that's how you see these tournaments with Magic, with thousands of people showing up to play, flop cards. And like the largest 40K event is, I want to say it was LVO, and that was 600 people, 650 people for the singles.
That's
still a ton of people.
Oh man!
But
the amount of gravy in one room. That's just,
and the Michigan
I can only imagine the smell.
So the Michigan GT doesn't hold numbers against that, but
right.
The LVO and all that's more based off of more cutthroat, more all about how you win, and not about the aspect of the hobby as well. And that's why I really enjoyed the Michigan GT, because it's more focused on painting and your soft scores and your presentation of your army.
Oh, that's right. You won last year. I forgot it.
I did win. I ended up placing 19th overall in battle points. I was 59 points behind first place, and I ended up winning due to my soft scores and my paint score, which put me almost 60 points above the overall. Even the person who won. So it was almost a 120 point flip between the two. So Michigan GT has 250 points in battle points you can get, and 150 in painting and theme that you can get. And I got 148 in paint and theme. Nice. So I left 2 points off for my edge highlighting. It's something I've always lacked in.
And Dan, you won in your division too, didn't you?
Yeah, I got the top. Was it Eldar?
Pure Eldar. Yep.
No mixing.
No soups.
Yeah, nice. But don't forget about your rampant cheating, Eric, too, by getting everybody to vote for you.
Oh yeah. That hit Facebook hard.
I mean, that's just called capitalism at that point.
Oh, right.
People vote for you to win.
You give out Snickers, Magic. You get more.
Oh, you got Snickers?
No.
You got underpaid.
He's giving out handies in the other area.
Dropping those dice on the ground.
Yeah. He shaved his beard the next week.
Oh, too sticky.
It's so crusty. That's right.
Well, how'd you get into the hobby, Dan? What was your first 40K experiences?
So there was a store. God, so this would have been in the '90s, so 25 years ago ish. I was probably around 10 or 11. There was a store called the Alcove. It was on Woodward in Royal Oak, and a bunch of friends and me went up there, and there was guys playing, and we ended up buying one of the third edition, because third edition had just released recently at that time, box that had Dark Eldar and orcs of all things fighting each other, and that's I split the box with a buddy. He played the orcs and I played the Dark Eldar, and we on and off played for the next 25 years. So
Have you always played Dark Eldar?
yeah. Those models that you've seen, those are original, the models I had when I was 10 or 11.
Nice.
So yeah, that's why I continue to use the old Raiders and the old Ravagers and the old some of the old Warriors and everything still too.
Personally, I like the old Raiders better.
Yeah, I'm not a big fan of the pirate ships, but yeah. So I played pretty much every edition on and off. I probably missed, I think, like 5th or something, but me and a group of friends just all have played and bought in and bought out and everything else. So it's been fun. A lot of changes, and then I've really enjoyed the newest edition quite a bit. This is probably the most I've ever played and been involved in, hobbying overall with it. So
For sure. I couldn't agree more. I've played pretty consistently through the years, and 8th edition has been fantastic. How many times can you say you've gone to a tournament and seen a representation of all armies? And
yeah, at least
you
at some
play
scale.
Yeah, you play 5 games, and normally you're playing 5 different armies, unless you're playing like this last.
Because like when the Knight Codex came out, right? Like we went to Buckeye and talked to Joe beforehand. He's like, oh yeah, there's 18 of 60 lists are Knights. So like you had to prepare. You're gonna face Knight. Well, it's just like when that happens, it's unfortunate because then you do end up with like the Iron Hands thing, and you end up with the Knight thing. But eventually, it gets washed out, and you go back to whatever. So
I think part of the Knight thing though was also like it was new and people wanted to play with it, because that was right off the heels of that, wasn't it?
It was pretty ridiculous though.
Was
Yeah.
it?
It was.
Oh yeah, Knights were bad.
It was good, and Knights is an easy army to meta swing into. It's not like a new Tau Codex comes out and you got to buy 150 drones and paint 150 drones in order to play that. You could just spray paint 6 Knights and then have a meta capable list pretty easily.
And I think that was the reason that it got so out of hand with those especially was because you could just throw money at it. It was just like, okay, I can go spend $700 on Knights and I've got my whole army done, and I just put it together, throw some paint on there. And half the armies that were there were like, so did you actually paint this? Or like you just kind of slap some acrylic paint you got from the dollar store on there, like, oh, it looks fine.
Got the 3 minimum.
You could just tell. You could tell the people who were doing it, and I didn't really have a problem with the people who obviously played Knights before and they got their codex and it was OP as balls, and they were just oh, I'm still playing my army. That's nothing wrong with that. It was the 20 other guys who showed up that were like, hey, you've never done this before, have you?
So I was one of those 20. Yeah, bought, build, and paint a whole Knight army in 1 week. It was great.
Yeah, I bet. But yeah. So
Cool.
All right, cool. So Brandon,
You.
me.
Yeah.
So I got in. I don't think I've been playing as long as these 2 old dudes. I got in at 4th edition, and I started with actually Smurfs, and I think I had like 3,000 or 4,000 points of Smurfs, and ended up selling those, and then got brought back in playing Dark Eldar, sold those, and I started playing Khorne and haven't looked back. So I've been playing Khorne for quite a few years now. I think the thing that keeps me playing is I love the hobby. I love the building part of it. The painting part of it, I'm not so so great at it. But I like doing things that are a little different. Like what I'm working on today is this is my Sorcerer Terminator, and just trying to make it look like he should be a Sorcerer Terminator and not just a stand-in. So you got to find all the right bits and pieces to make it look like it flows well. And for instance, I gotta drop that cape. It looks too much like a mini skirt. So, but I really wanted that piece to work. So I think but I think sometimes when people see stuff like that, it can be intimidating because everybody thinks that they have to do that. And it's not as difficult as it may seem. It just takes patience. So I think the only time it gets to be a problem is when, like, there are some units that I have that, for instance, my bloodletters I mix with the gene stealers, and so you have to buy 2 boxes to get 10 bloodletters. You know, stuff like that. It gets a little out of hand. And you take all the good parts of both, and then you've got nothing left to do with anything else. So how about you, Brandon? What got you into this? You're muted.
My bad. Thanks for
Yeah, you're
going
good.
on. I grew up like 2 blocks away in Rochester Hills from the GW store, and my parents would just like boot me out of the house and tell me to, like, here, go figure something out. So me and a bunch of friends always used to walk down there and be like the annoying little kids that would hang out at the store. So it was around 3rd edition, I guess, I started playing, and I picked up the first Necron box that came out when Necrons first came out, and I haven't looked back ever since. It was the easiest army to paint and play. I just walked dudes forward and they died and came back, and it frustrated everyone else off because they didn't know how to handle that. And 40k had never seen something like that before, where I could just like pile my dead over in one side and then just put them back and then kill them and put them back again. And then that fueled me loving everyone hating me when I played 40k. So I went to Eldar, and now I play Eldar somewhat competitively.
And now they hate you more.
Yeah, now I just feed on it. It's just like I'm like a Darth Sidious or something. Just like I could feel the hate, and I love it. But
So how did your parents take it when you said you played Eldar?
I'm not allowed to go home anymore. But yeah, and then that led me to, after college, I got hooked up with Team Bad Decisions, and I've moved into saw the light of hobbying more than being competitively just like grinding into people. So I've been doing stuff. Currently, I'm working on some Beastclaw Raiders, or Ogre Maw Tribe they are now, for Age of Sigmar. That's for next year's Adepticon. And yeah, that's the story of Brandon getting into 40k.
Sure. Well, that's right.
I think you can be competitive though without being a douche. Like
100%.
I think we all feel that way to an extent. Like, I only go hard into people when they're already being a douche. And it's like, okay, cool, we're gonna play that kind of game, and go off yourself, kind of thing. And then but before that point, any game I play, I go into it with the mind of like, I want to win, and I'm going to do what it takes to win, but I want to be fair and nice, and and I will pull back sometimes to if I'm crushing someone or whatever. And I think you can be competitive and do a competitive job without being a total dickhead about it.
Right.
Because I enjoy the competitive aspect of the game, and that's why I do the tournaments, is not just for the hobby. You guys are much more into the hobby aspect than I am. I enjoy it, and I enjoy painting, and I enjoy modeling and stuff like that. But I enjoy going to the tournaments to play, to win, without being a douche.
Yeah, see, I always get stuck on, like, when I do like a list build, like John was talking about Gazgul last time and the points. I would just figure it out. You got to bring Gazgul. Like, it's a cool model, and I always get stuck on something like that instead of like, oh, it doesn't make sense. John's point's completely relevant and true. Probably shouldn't bring him, points wise. But
I think any single model like that though, that isn't overly expensive point wise. You can build an army around it that can work to an extent. Maybe you're not going to be in the top tier, but like I bring the Incarn to a whole bunch of pretty much every army because I really enjoy the model. Spent a lot of time painting and everything like that, and I enjoy its abilities to it and what it can do. And yet, most of the armies I bring it in, it's not that good. Like I could replace it with 2 more planes and it'd probably be far more effective. But I just enjoy the model and try and build around, okay, how can I make this work with that model included, and stuff like that. So I think you can do that and still be competitive. You just can't do the whole army. Like you can't have Cat School and then have this really crappy guy and I really like these guys. It just, that doesn't work. But I think you can include individual models if you just really enjoy those. And I think that's important.
Yeah. I feel you. I've played, I like Berserkers a lot, so I played a lot of armies of Berserkers for a while.
Yeah.
So, all right. Well, that's so I think we're going to take a quick break, and then we're going to come back with Eric, kind of going over, the commission work that he does. He does a lot of airbrushing, and why he likes to airbrush, and then kind of how he goes through it. And if you see this on YouTube, don't forget to like, comment, subscribe if you want to continue to follow us.
Cool. And